Hey everyone, today I am going to show you how to automate xlookup in Excel using Python's powerful xlwings library. And trust me, once you see this, you will never want to do it manually again. For our today's example, we have two files. One is our main file and one is our lookup file. So our lookup file will be updated on a daily basis. And our main file is where we want to look up the value and return the result to. So we have some data for invoice payments. Let me scroll it up. Let me open up the second file as well. Let me open up side by side. For this scenario, we are assuming that we are sending payment information to a different department that is updating the payment information whenever the payment is being made. So for example, the invoice number 100 was processed from our end on 125 and it was cleared on 126, which is what we want to look up and return in our main file. So first let's look at how we will do it manually. So let me set up an xlookup formula. This is also important because later on we will need this as a reference guide whenever we are converting this into Python version. So let me create this formula. So we add the lookup value, that is invoice number. We add the reference here for the lookup column. Third thing we need is the return value. We close the formula and we get our results. Let me click on calculate and we have our formula right here. So I'm just gonna save this formula in a notepad so we can later use this for converting this into Python version. Ideally you would simply copy and paste the formula down or paste as formulas and then hit on calculate. And here you will see for whatever invoices we don't have the data in the payment section, it's returned as NA. We can also modify this formula to add error handling. So for example, we can simply say empty value for rows where we don't have the return value. So you can see empty here. Alright, so let me remove this formula and let's head over to VS Code so we can start writing our code to automate this on a daily basis. This is especially helpful if you want to automate these links on a daily basis without having any manual intervention. So for example, you might be on a server and someone might be adding this information or updating this file on a daily basis and it's on the same location. Then you can simply do a lookup, or you can put this code even on a task scheduler, or let's say before your office time starts. So in that case, whenever you start working, you always have most up-to-date data to work with. Right, so let's create a new Jupyter code file. So from new, I'm gonna select Jupyter notebook and I'm going to save this in my current directory. So let me click on save and let's give it a good name. So let's call it automate xlookup with xlwings. Right, so the first thing, let's import our library. So we click on import xlwings as xw. We use B to add new lines. First we will load our main file. Since it's in the same directory, we can just give the file name. Next we will load this file and save it in main_wb, that is wb for workbook, and we use book method and give it the file name, and this is how it loads the file. For next step, we will load sheet 1 as our main tab, so we will save this inside of main_sheet. So let's run the code till here. And if I add main sheet here, it should load the main sheet and give us the results. And you can see it has loaded the main file and it has loaded the sheet 1. You can check values from the loaded worksheet using dot value method and square bracket notations. So for example, if I want to check cell A4, it says invoice number, and if I check it here, my cell A4 has invoice number, and this is how we can tell that our data has been loaded correctly. Great. For our next thing, we will load the second file, that is the lookup file. We will follow the same steps, so I'm just going to copy and paste the steps here instead of going through all the steps manually. So first we open the second file and then we load the sheet 1 inside of lookup_sheet tab. Great. Let me remove this cell and let's keep going. Alright, so I'm just going to paste the formula we created here. So the next thing we need to do is we need to replicate this formula from Excel version to a Pythonic version. So let's start breaking down the formula into different parts. So the first part we have is the lookup value. The second part is from here till here. This is the lookup array that is being looked up from the lookup sheet and returned to the main sheet. The third thing we have This is the return section. So let's start replicating this into Pythonic code. So the A5, this is very simple. We are going to take care of this within our for loop. For this one, we are going to use f strings. So let's do that. Alright, so let's declare a new variable called lookup underscore array. We open up our f strings and add a double quote, and then we add a single quote, and here we will open a curly braces, and we will say lookup underscore wb dot name. This is basically going to translate to lookup file dot xlsx. So let me do this here. Okay, so if we do lookup underscore wb dot name, we get a result of lookup file dot xlsx, which is equal to this one. So this is what we have done so far. Next thing we will do is we will add an exclamation mark, and then we will simply give the lookup range from A2 through A12. We can change this value if we need. Now we do similar thing with this one. So let me copy and paste, and then I'm gonna change some values. So I'm gonna name this return array. This is going to stay the same because this translates lookup file dot xlsx, and here I'm simply going to replace A with B, and this should give me the desired result. And let's declare the last variable, that is if not found, and we will put this equals to empty string. Let's run this and let's test what this returns. You can see this returns to this format. Great. Next we need to figure out how we can apply this formula that we have created to all of the rows that are from cell 5 on to the last row. So let's figure out the starting row and the ending row. So for our start row, we can simply say 5 because our data will stay static till here. Unless and until we remove some data from above, we will keep this here. So let's say 5 here. And for last row, we'll take data from main sheet because we want this formula to be pasted in the main sheet. So we will say main sheet dot range a1 dot end xl down. It's actually just down in xlwings. If you're working VBA, this would have been like dot end xl down dot row. And the next thing we need is we need to figure out a way to create a loop that will loop through the section from 5 till the last row. Let's just check what is saved in last row. So I'm gonna run the cell again, and last row has 2, which is technically wrong because starting from A1, so that means we need to start from A4 till the end. That way it will pick up the correct last row, which should be 179 here. So let me run this again, and you see we have 179 here. Great. Now we can start working on our for loop that will loop through row 5 up till row number 179 and pasting the formula till the end. So we say for row in range, and for range we will say start and stop. For our starting row we will say start row. For the ending portion we will say last row plus 1. It's going to loop basically from row 5 till row number 179 one by one, pasting the formula in each cell. Let's define the lookup value because as you might have seen in all of the xlookup formula, we have not defined the lookup value. We have the lookup array and the return array, but not the lookup value, which is going to be active rows value from column A. So let's define a new variable. Let's call it lookup underscore value, and we will use f strings again. So we say f a and square bracket row. Okay, so let's look at what value is stored in lookup value column, and you can see it has a5 a6, and this is what it's going to feed to the xlookup formula, which seems to be correct here. Alright, so let me comment this out and let's continue with our lookup formula. So we say, now we build the actual formula. So we say main underscore sheet dot range. So main sheet is this one where we want the formula to be pasted, and we use f strings again, and we want this formula to return in column E. So we add a square bracket and we say row dot formula. So let me just accept the solution and let's see if we can look at the formula it has created. So it says xlookup, and I'm just going to paste the formula here just for reference again, so we know what we are creating and whether it looks correct or not. I'm just gonna keep this side by side. So xlookup, the lookup value will be a5 for the first iteration, then it will be A6, A7, so on. So this section is being replaced by lookup array. This section is being replaced by return array, which we saved above, as you can see here. And the last one is if not found, which we added as empty string. Let's run this code block and fingers crossed, let's see if it's able to add the values. And you can see it has filled the values from cell A5 till E179. And if you go a cell below it, you can see there's no formula in it. Great. Let me hit on calculate. For some reason it has added, it's not picked up the empty quotes. That's fine. Okay, I just realized that the if not found needs to be inside of double quotes. So let me remove this formula here and let's run this again. And you can see now it has empty string added by default. You might have noticed that it has not calculated the formulas yet. This happens if your file has the calculation mode set as manual. Now you see the strikes through here. This is because the calculation mode is set to manual, and you can see the small calculate right here. To force the Excel to calculate each time, we can simply do main.wb.save. So this is going to pull the main worksheet or main workbook, that is main_workbook, and click on save, and this will automatically recalculate all the formulas. So let me run this, and you can see now our formulas have been recalculated. So last step we will need to do is we need to break the links. So as you can see here, we now have links in the worksheet, and we don't want these links to be there. We want these links to be broken, because it's possible that the original file might be deleted, or you might need to send this report somewhere else, this main file, and if you send it with links attached, it will most likely crash whenever the other person will open this file. So to access the links, we will say main workbook.api.link sources, and then we will add a for loop to break these links. So we will say if link sources equals true for link in link sources, we want to break link and we want to select the type as 1. So let's try this, and I'm just going to show you once again. You can see here workbook links, we have the link here, and let's run this, and you can see the link has been broken, and now it has pasted the value as hardcode, which is what we wanted, because now we can send this file anywhere without having to worry about the links changing. So last thing we need to do is we need to save and close these two files. So we save the main file, we close it, and then we close the other file as well. You can see both files have been closed. We just have an Excel instance that is open right now. And just like that, we have automated xlookup with Python. No more tedious searching, no more manual formulas, just a powerful scalable solution that saves you time and effort. If this blew your mind, imagine what else Python can do. Hit the like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comment section what you would like me to automate next. See you in the next one.